the patterns, the beliefs, the emotions that have then created whatever, the current experiences that they don't want to experience anymore. And so once we've done the healing around that in terms of bringing the awareness to the forefront, and often people can have, and I've seen very stoic and non-believers around this work, become aware. Let's put it that way.
Welcome to the Business Ownership Podcast, brought to you by Awareness Strategies, helping you navigate the waters between entrepreneurship and ownership. Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedlick, and I'm super glad that you're here with us today because I'm here with my most amazing guest, Louisa. Louisa, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for our conversation today.
Nice. So give everybody the highlight of who you are and what you love to do for business.
Absolutely. So I help high-level entrepreneurs and coaches to be able to live at their fullest self-expression by breaking through the upper limits that we put on ourselves in life and in business.
Nice. I love it. So how did you get into business coaching as a thing?
Well, it was a bit of a surprise, really, because I used to be a senior manager for social services and did that for about 13 years. And, like all life journeys, we have pivotal moments, don't we, along the way, where it was really seeing my father pass away after just working his butt off on a corporate hamster wheel that made me realize, I don't want to be doing this anymore. And so I decided to take all my expertise from growing multi-million-pound services for social services and to leave and I've been coaching within the organization for years as well, and that was the bit that I really loved to do, was to help people kind of have more of life. And often I was telling people to leave their job.
Right. I discovered really quickly that I don't work really well in corporate settings, especially not unions. It's like, leave, go.
Yes, go.
Back exit, go. You can sneak out here.
Yeah, this isn't meeting your purpose. You're not fulfilling your purpose anymore, because jobs change around you, don't they? Right. And then it occurred to me, I was like, hang on a second, I'm advising everyone else to live in alignment with their values, and I don't think I am. So I decided, I left, and that was it was 7 years ago now. And so I transitioned, set my own business up. And it's just been an incredible journey of, starting with life coaching and then, into business coaching. And because I realized I was doing all of it anyway. And so I lead with, helping people to have more success, basically, and bringing in the sort of mindset, energetics and the business strategy as well, if that makes sense.
Yep, absolutely. It does. So typically now, who do you work with? Who comes to you the most, or who do you love to work with the most?
I would say I work mostly with coaches. That's in part because I also teach and train people to use the Helix Method, which is our energy psychology modality. And I also teach and train people to use the Akashic records with the Soul Journeys method. And so I attract a lot of coaches and mentors who are wanting to bring those modalities into their businesses. And then the flip side of that is I have a lot of very self-aware entrepreneurs who are wanting to continue their personal development journey, because they know that that's, I believe your energy is a strategy in business. And so, you can't have sort of just all the fancy strategies. You need the energy is your strategy as well.
Oh, absolutely. Bar none. I've seen so many people fall flat on their face using epic tactics. And it's like, we got to back up the bus and start looking at you. And then they go and do the exact same thing all over again, and it works. So there is definitely something to this, but talk to me, we'll get into this in a little bit, but talk to me about your Helix methodology. What is that and what does it entail?
Yes, so it's an energy psychology modality. We have a range of techniques that we use within it the Helix method is the umbrella. And one of the tools that we use that is a foundational tool is muscle testing within the technique, to help people understand what they might be hiding in their subconscious, because we're really good at listening, I think, unless we've kind of really mastered the art of what are the stories the conscious mind is going to whip out as a classic that's being fed by the subconscious to try and stop us in our tracks. And that's what I love about muscle testing, is that's how you can really cut the nonsense, that the stories that the conscious mind is telling us, and really get to the truth of what is the root, what are the roots that of the fears, the beliefs, the stories, the identity piece that is holding us back. And so we use muscle testing, and when we very much work with helping to change the identity someone's really embodied in their body, so that, because we create from our identity and who we believe we are, so that we can let go of all of that and become the highest version of ourselves.
Right.
Step into
So
a
for
new
those
identity.
who aren't quite with us yet, let's talk about the practicality of business and, the hard stoics of, this is all nonsense, I don't do that. And yet their clients don't pay them on time, their staff don't stick around, what kind of other stuff is going on practically in their business when kind of before they come to you?
Well, exactly. That's exactly it. Because it's, if we believe that we've got a problem, and so often, if I just go back up a step, whatever we've experienced, not only within our own businesses, but what we saw as children, our parents, if they were entrepreneurs, what they experienced, or even if, let's say that we witnessed a parent being laid off and made redundant because the business was contracting, and as a child something happened, and then we will have lodged all of those memories and the experiences of that within our subconscious, and then the subconscious is going to say, hey, we don't want you to have that experience, and so it's going to start to create things to keep ourselves safe. And then what can happen is, because we'll start to make decisions with all of that knowledge and intelligence within our subconscious, it's just not known, it's not in our awareness. So you think you're making a really good solid decision around perhaps hiring XYZ person, and then, like you said, they don't stick around. Hang on, I've got this reoccurring pattern going on, and it just makes no logical sense to why this is happening. And that's where being able to do the muscle testing to find out, okay, where's the root of this? And I was working with a client the other day, and she was absolutely blown away, because she thought the root was going to be within her current business, and it went back to when she was 3. And she was like, what? It's like, let's just work with what your body's telling, because this is your subconscious is just revealing to us the root of this. And then everything starts to change when you have that understanding. You bring that awareness to you can allow yourself to let that go and be able to bring the logic mind on board, because I think it's important. Otherwise our brains can go, what on earth are you doing? And again,
Right.
try and take us out of it.
Well, absolutely it can. And a lot of people that I work with will say things like, yeah, but I didn't have a traumatic childhood. I said, you could have had the most fantastic childhood on the planet. But if your sister stole your toothbrush and brushed the dog's teeth with it, all of a sudden you're like, I have to hone in on all my possessions. I can't let other people touch my things. I get, and it's funny to look back at and go, that was hilarious. But that little 4-year-old or whatever is still very possessive of their stuff, because it's dangerous to leave it out in the open, which your adult brain goes, yeah, I totally get that. That makes sense. Okay. Now how do you want to deal with this? Because clearly you're going to have to leave some stuff on the table for your employees to take care of. And, this is how this is going to go down. And to me, it's fascinating how these patterns play out in people's lives. And a lot of people will go, oh my God, it's the same thing over and over again. It's like, okay, I've dealt with it already. And it's like, well, you're a little kid. There's a lot of emotional tie-ins to that. I mean, you can well imagine somebody steals your toothbrush and goes and brushes the dog's teeth with it. All of the impact and patterns that can create, it spirals. And I love the Helix concept. I'm starting to get how the Helix comes in now. So I'm assuming that as you're working with people, you're looking first for the patterns. Is that kind of how that works?
Exactly. Yeah.
Talk to me
for
about that.
The patterns, the beliefs, the emotions that have then created whatever the current experiences that they don't want to experience anymore. And so once we've done the healing around that, in terms of bringing the awareness to the forefront, and often people can have, and I've seen very stoic and non-believers around this work become aware, let's put it that way, as they feel the somatic responses from their body, because your body will tell you. And so I help people get into a sort of semi-meditative state as we're doing this, so they can really listen to how their body is speaking to them, so that their body will tell them about, this is the moment when your sister, you know, stole your toothbrush and brushed your dog's teeth with it. That image is going to stay with me, Michelle.
Right. And it does, it stuck with me for a long time because I thought it was kind of hilarious story. It's a good story in that, you know, it's a perfectly innocent story, but it can wreak havoc in our business as an adult. And we have to understand that.
Exactly. It otherwise that 3-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old version of ourselves is going to be rocking up to the CEO, you know, meetings and running the show, which we don't want. We, you know, we want to be able to take care of the inner child that we all have. And then of course, you know, there's the traumas that we can have that can come up in running a business, whether, you know, it's goals that haven't been met, or financial traumas like, you know, bankruptcy, or whatever it might be. You know, the journeys that people have along the growth of their business will stay with them. And so it's not just always inner child stuff. It is it's the whole spectrum, of course, as well. But it always goes back. It's always linked. So I like to work with people really deeply so that we can really allow that those patterns and beliefs that have then ultimately fed into that identity that we're currently holding, be able to let go, so we can be free to not keep recreating them, and then move into the balance piece around really getting focused on the visualization and where is it we want to go, and who are we going to be, what's that type of person who's running that 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure business, what's the identity that we need to hold and really embody, so that our subconscious, the cells in our body, feel safe to be there and to be doing that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. Well, and personally, I found that it was easier to pull up the successes. If somebody's ever had successes in their life, to be able to kind of hone in on that and go, oh yeah, okay, this is what it feels like to be successful. This is what it feels like to be on top. I'm good. And then you start to kind of pull up the layers of the pieces, which can then be isolation. It's then, well, then people want my money. Then people, you know, what happens in that moment. And it could have just been a star moment in grade 6 playing, you know, football. I was going to say soccer, sorry, it's sacrilegious. and being able to kind of hone in on what negativity happens after that. And, you know, what comes up is, oh yeah, that was an awesome moment. That was my glory moment in grade 6. And it's like, yeah, but then what happened? And that's the stuff that your body's trying to protect you from. And realizing that, you know, how you dealt with success as a 12-year-old is going to be totally different than how you're dealing with success as a 30, 40, 50-year-old, whatever the case might be. But the aspects can still play out.
That's such a good point, that bit about, you know, what's happening just after that moment of success. And as you were sharing that, one of the things, it reminded me of one of the things I talk about with my clients a lot, because the body response that we have to success can often feel like a trauma. I'm sure everyone will recognize, you know, when you were nervous about something as you're growing up, and people go, don't worry, don't be nervous, just be excited, you know, tell your body you're excited. It doesn't know the difference, it's the same thing. Well, exactly. If we flip it and you're excited because you've had a great success in your business, your body doesn't know the difference between nervousness and excitement. And so you can get kind of like a shock to the system if you've had a massive income growth that's been perhaps a bit of a spike, and or you've been working towards it for a while, of course, and then it can feel like it's a sudden spike. It's just all come in at the same time. And so it's being able to then help people not have like a body crash afterwards, or want to try and kind of throw all the money away because their body doesn't know what to do with it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. And we'll get into this in a second. I want to back up a little bit though. And have you noticed anything different kind of about the patterns and things since the lockdown? So are people going back to the lockdown and going, oh yeah, this created some triggers for me, without labeling things and too much. And my curiosity is because I think people are underestimating how impactful that whole thing was. Because I did a lot of work with PTSD. I didn't like somebody else diagnosed it. I just helped people who had already been diagnosed with it.
Mm.
And in my experience, it was because people hadn't learned how to deal with that kind of thing up until that age. So typically, if you get somebody that's in a abusive family or something like that as a child, and they go and get signed up for war and they go to war, they tend to deal with it a lot better than somebody that had a happy childhood and then gets sent off to war, in my experience.
Mm.
And it's because they just have nothing to, none of their experiences up until that point have given them the tools to be able to deal with the things that are happening right here and now. And none of us were given any of the tools to deal with what was going on right here and now during the lockdown. So I'm assuming that it created a lot of triggers in that. Have you experienced that, or was it easier than I'm giving it credit for? What was your experience?
That's such a good question. I think for me, what I've seen with the impact of lockdown, and this is not only in sort of entrepreneurs, but because entrepreneurs have family members and
What?
ta-da, and children, and the
Lives.
impact the impact of people having social anxiety. I think that's something that's really, I've really heard from a lot of clients around their children having social anxiety. And it, again, like you were saying, depending on their upbringing, what's going on at home, it being impacted in a number of different ways. But there's a huge gap for people, and I wonder how this will play out as they get to become entrepreneurs, and if they haven't had the support to kind of help them process this. But there's a lot of socialization, whether you were like an 8-year-old little girl, you didn't get your birthday party because you couldn't have your friends around, all those kind of key sort of experiences that people can, you know, hopefully have, or being 15 years old and you're meant to be going out and starting to kind of have a little taste of freedom, and, you know, 2 years of not, you know, being on house arrest effectively, the whole planet, you know,
Right.
it was huge. And then that knock-on impact, I think, is because from a holistic perspective, thinking of people as a whole is then thinking about how has that impacted people in their businesses as well, and how they lead and show up for themselves. I was, you know, speaking to many people as well, recognizing that they felt anxious going out suddenly and being with people again and getting on trains. So it's the day-to-day life that I have found that has had the biggest impact, if that makes sense. Have you seen that as well?
I haven't gone into kind of the therapy side of things as much yet. But certainly I have noticed among speakers, professional speakers, not having been on a physical stage for 2-3 years and then going, oh, I got to get back on it again. It's as if we're going on the stage for the very first time again. And it's almost worse. It's almost like going on stage for the first time when we were 5, as
Yeah.
opposed to, you know, when we were 20, 30. It's almost as if we've forgotten everything that we had learned. And it's like, no, I actually love this, and it's awesome, and it's fun, and it's okay. Get excited about it. And, you know, nobody's going to bite your head off. They're just freaking out because somebody's sitting within 6 feet of them right now, and they're not used to it. It's like, oh, yeah,
You're in
weird
my
things.
space.
Yeah, weird things like they can smell perfume now. So when
Mm.
you're sitting in a meeting for hours on end in a Zoom meeting, it's you, yourself, and you know, it's your house and you're familiar with it. But then you go out into public and all of a sudden there's smells, right? There's somebody's shampoo, somebody's perfume, and you think, oh, these are all nice smells, and they are. It's just not familiar anymore. It's like
Yeah.
just distracting and off taking. And it's like, okay, I just want my little space again. So I can
Don't want anybody
concentrate.
around me. Yeah.
Even in the nicest possible ways, I'm still just, I want my little box so I can concentrate.
Yeah.
And it's quite, I mean, some of it's quite funny to me, and some of it's quite disturbing, for sure. I
Yes,
mean, it's
it
got the
is.
whole spectrum for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, the flip side of it, I think, you know, we've seen a lot of people having to be very creative
Yes.
to be able to help their businesses to thrive in at such a pivotal time. And, you know, there's a lot of trauma there for people who lost their livelihood, like overnight, effectively, because not everybody was perhaps in a position where they were able to be that. And of course, if you're in a sense of trauma, you know, a business trauma, it's hard to be creative when you're in that stress state.
Right. So talk to me about kind of the physicality of stressors and familiarity. So one, I'm assuming we're getting rid of the stressors, and then two, we're impacting familiarity so that people can act in the face of success. So talk to me about those two concepts, because I think it's a very foreign concept for most people.
Yes. And a great way to think about this. I mean, I think people will recognize, they'll know, and depending where you are on your journey and how well versed you are with this, but you know when you feel stressed in your body and that your body starts giving you signs, even whether it's, you know, you're sweating more or your heart palpitations, or you can kind of get, you know, anxiety can bubble up. It can be a whole body visceral experience. You can start having scattered thoughts, all those things that will just start to have an impact, and the body is literally saying, slow down. It's time to take a breath, and to take a break. And you know, I think it's that thing is, if you think that you know, you haven't got time to take a break, it's time to take a break. You know, that's the if you catch yourself saying that, flip it and take a break. So you've got those physical symptoms around stress that are going to bubble up as your body's going into overwhelm and literally wanting you to kind of not move forward. And it can literally happen if you're moving. You'll start to feel that anxiety as your business is growing beyond your current identity, if that makes sense. So often people are like, why is my anxiety coming through the roof now? The business is going really well, you know, I'm flying, everything's happening, but I've just got this kind of underlying, you know, sense of anxiety or worrying that it's all going to suddenly vanish overnight. And that's where you've kind of gone beyond your identity bandwidth that the body, so the body's going, right, let's trigger some symptoms here to stop this person so that we can start to feel safe. So this is so helpful, where you can start to do some very simple things to be able to let the cells in your body know what it feels like to be living at that next level of your business. And literally, you know, if you spend a few moments a day visualizing it, imagining how it's going to go, your body is getting to experience what that feels like, because you'll start to feel like, oh, this is going to be really cool. It's a little bit like, I am thinking about going on holiday to Norway at the moment. And every time I think about it, it's like I'm already there. Does that make sense? I just use a holiday because I know that's an easy example for everyone, because everyone, you know, you imagine you're already there, you're going to be on the beach, or you're going to be with the whales or whatever it might be that you're doing. And the body's already gone there. So it knows that it feels that it can be safe to be there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you bring up a great point, as a lot of people will, to use a clinical term, poo-poo on the idea of visualization. And I think it's important to understand that that visualization is paramount for your body to garner a sense of familiarity, because we've all seen somebody do something that we've never done, whether it's cliff diving or parachuting or parasailing or something that is awe-inspiring, and you're like, I would be terrified doing that. But that person's done it every day of their life, and they see themselves and they're like, "Hey, this is awesome. I know how to navigate those waters," so to speak. Mm. And unless your brain has the familiarity of those waters, or what some brilliant psychologist once called a frame of reference, then you can build that plate into it. Once you have that frame, it's like having a wall of canvas. An artist can't do anything, but as soon as you put a frame on it, it's like, oh, okay, now I get where my limitations are, my balance, and all of a sudden everything that you have, even though you may not have painted before, comes into play, and you have a sense of familiarity to it, which then leads to the safety, which then turns off all your fear factors, which then opens up, you know, all your blood circulation and your executive functions start to function again. And it really does have this physical play on it. And I think it's paramount, especially as entrepreneurs, that we figure this whole thing out, because as woo-woo as it may seem to a lot of people, it will determine your success or failure as an entrepreneur almost more so than anything. Like, yeah, you can mess your way up to success not having a clue what you're doing. And we've seen it before. We have seen the most incompetent people on the planet build spectacular businesses. And it's not because of their business acumen. It's not because they know how to set up their technologies. It's not because they know how to do marketing. It's because they can see themselves succeeding in a way that that garners that familiarity, I think. but go
Yes.
ahead and argue with me.
No, I'm completely in agreement with you. I think, strategy without the mindset, if that feels a more comfortable term for people, or the energetics, depending on, what language you prefer, is going to get you so far. But harnessing, being able to really work with your body and your mindset and the energy is going to take you streams ahead. And it's exactly that, but being able to see yourself and live from the place of already having achieved it. I think being an entrepreneur is just the greatest personal development journey
that there is. Absolutely, I concur. Well, and I think energy is a good word, because anybody who's been into a boardroom and anybody who's been into a business debriefing where like the whole company is there and they're all anticipating kind of what's going to State of the Union talk, there is a very different energy amongst those. And it's palpable. You can feel the energy when you walk into a room of CEOs that are looking to do an IPO, and you can feel the energy when you go into a room with 1,000 employees and they're all waiting to find out whether or not they're getting fired or not. You can feel the energy, and that is exactly what you're talking about. And it's up to the individual that's in that power position to be able to yield that energy in a direction that they want that meeting to go. And if they don't see the end game in play, whatever they do see in play is going to manifest.
Absolutely. You brought me back to my social services days when I would have to do that very thing.
Trauma. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
to. Going in and being the one that had to stand up and say we're having to do a redundancy program, and I was visualizing how it was going to go. The positivity around it, with of course the compassion, knowing that people are going to be really freaked out, and the energy, that's such a good example, because you can absolutely feel it. You can cut the air with the energy.
Right. Anybody who's been in one of those, you go, oh, okay, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's hardcore. So that's such a great way to kind of help people get their heads around it if it is something new. But I think it is the most important thing, because we do create from our identities. And so if anyone's wanting to grow to that next level in their business, make a bigger impact, branching off into a new product area, whatever it might be, we need to be the person that's already doing that, to be able to really allow it to flow more smoothly, so that we're not kind of having all the problems and hiccups along the way.
Nice. So I'd like to talk about money in particular, because I think people, as weird as this may sound, don't really associate the functioning of their business with the money that the business is bringing in with their energetic state. So talk to me about money and one's energetic state and kind of how they correlate.
Right. So there are.
She's like, that's a 6 hour.
Like, right. How long have we got?
So I have a course.
So they absolutely do. And I can completely see, because if you're, depending on the size of the organization, you've got so many systems in place to be able to do things, and loads of people that will be also contributing, and their mindset's going to be contributing to the success of the business as well. And so, this is the stuff. Get your teams doing this work if you really want to grow exponentially, because we think we're operating from our conscious mind, but the subconscious is running the show, and we all have hidden blind spots that we don't know about. And that's where being able to do the muscle testing is so helpful. One of the things, this may help people resonate, and it's certainly something that you can see play out in large organizations and small organizations, is anywhere that you are, your relationship with yourself and your relationship that you bring from your family life, in terms of your attachment style, is going to have an impact on how you have your relationships with, your team members, your relationship with clients, and therefore what you're expecting in terms of how people are going to interact with you. And then that has a direct result on whether people are going to want to carry on working with you. You're going to want to carry on working with them. You might think it's because of X, Y, and Z, but actually it's back to that attachment style, or to the trauma that you had in childhood, as to why you're showing up and interacting with clients and with team members in this way. And that, of course, all affects the bottom line in terms of how much money you're bringing into the business, if that makes sense. So it's about the money, but it's about so much more. It's about, you know, your relationships with yourself, how much self-love you have, self-trust, whether there's any element of imposter syndrome bubbling up in terms of operating how you know, impacting how you're operating within your business. And one of the other big ones that has a huge impact on money and the growth of the business is around visibility that for you as the CEO, whether you're stepping into new territory or perhaps you're just becoming like the leader of your niche and being comfortable with that level of visibility. Those are just, you know, a handful of some of the things that can bubble up that people might not necessarily associate with the money, but will have an impact with the money coming in, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. So give us an example of a Cinderella story of one of your clients. If you can't use names, just change them.
Yeah, I can do. So one of my clients, I mean, I've got so many, but one of the ones I'd like to share because it speaks to the bit that we've been talking about, your body feeling safe. So one of my clients, she had her first 100K month, which was really, really exciting because it just did not look like it was going to happen. I know, right?
I love that.
And so she was doing all the work. She was, you know, she was like a excellent student in the sense of just implementing everything and doing the inner work. Created her 100K month, and her body did not know what to do with it. So it was amazing. She was like, Louisa, I don't know what to do. My Facebook ads are all working, like they're all flowing, it's all amazing. Like I feel unsafe because I know what to do when the Facebook ads aren't working and I want to fiddle around with, and I've got something to focus on. But everyone's paid, so I haven't got to worry about people paying. And her body it was unusual for her body to kind of be in this space of you can just rest. You don't have to kind of create a worry, or she was looking for the next thing to fix or to worry about. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs I know that are like, they go to the beach and they're like, oh, okay, so maybe we should find some crabs, or maybe we should find some clams, or maybe we should take this rock and turn it over.
Yes.
Like, yes. Okay, or you could sit.
Yeah, but that's the next bit. It's the bit after the success of really embodying it and feeling safe, so you're not going to then do the thing where you're trying to throw it all away and then going, oh my god, I've created a roller coaster, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. And I have seen that certain personality kind of types exacerbate it even more. So if they're really success driven, if that's the priority in their business is to be successful, they find it even harder to accept the success when it comes, which seems really ironic.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? But then it's because if we're in that state, we are wanting to, the body is like the cells of the body are addicted to the state of searching and creating for the success. So they're just going to continue trying to create it, or you're had so many sort of hurdles along the way, we're going to just create another hurdle because that's what so it's like the body goes through with withdrawal symptoms. If we are finding ourselves, oh, we're really being very successful over here, we weren't quite used to it, I can't appreciate it or stay here, so I'm going to go and look for the other thing, because it's like the body goes, I need to feel that emotion now to have that chemical reaction fix.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because we don't talk about culture shock a lot anymore, but it really does become kind of a culture shock when things are going too easy for somebody that needs to be doing, or if they need to have some drama, or if they need to have, like, there's this activity, it's like there's this buzz in their life. And when things are calm, it's like a brain overload. And they're like, I just want something familiar. I just want some comfort food. I just want some feeling. I just want my mom. Like, and your mom is that buzzing, right? And it sounds really weird, but it is that lack of familiarity with this new surrounding again, that we're coming into. So I know that our audience can relate to all of this because, they're entrepreneurs. So I know our listeners are going to want more from you. How did they start their journey with you?
Oh, I would love to share with them. I have a free PDF which can talk them through how to do the muscle testing with the Helix method so that they can have a go at home and play. And I've put in there some common money blocks so they can muscle test to see if they've, what might be lurking. And then they can, we've got some free masterclasses that we have where I literally take people through, guide them through some sessions there. And of course, they can reach out at clientcare@louisahavers.com if they want to explore working together.
Nice. I love it. And for those who aren't familiar with muscle testing, do you go through kind of the how-tos of doing it on their own? Or
Oh, yes, exactly. It's step by step. And then I've got a little link to my YouTube channel where I do a little demonstration. Because we use the muscle testing that I love to use is the sway technique, which is where you're standing and you're using your body like a dowsing device. The reason why I love it is because you can feel it happen. And so if you've never done it before, your brain's going to go, what just happened?
I love it. And to me, it's like, if you doubt it in any way, shape, or form, go and stand on the edge of a building or a cliff or a something and look over. And you will feel that feeling magnified 100% of it's safe to move forward, or I really want to move back. It's like, trust me, your body does this all the time. And when you gain a certain sensitivity to it, you can go all the way down to the yes and no's and all that fun stuff. So for those of you who aren't familiar with feeling what's going on in your body, it's okay. Your body does this, trust me. And it's just a matter of kind of honing in on it on a level that's familiar to you. So excellent. We will, of course, have the link to that in the show notes, but go ahead and say it just in case somebody's listening and for whatever reason they don't have access to the show notes.
Oh, fantastic. If you go to louisahavers.com/gift, you'll be able to download our free gift. We've got a couple of free gifts on there, so that will take you to one of them. And we'll make sure that we get you the PDF guide as well.
Thanks. I love it. So peeps, go ahead and click on that link, open up a new browser, of course, because we're not done yet. So Louise, at what point in life did you know that you were especially kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur? You already mentioned that I was kind of in that stage, but what was the thing like, I could do this?
You know what it was? I helped my brother out with his music publishing business. And it was at that moment where he got me in so I could help him write letters to people saying pay me, because he didn't do it. And I was like, I've been dealing with complaints in social services, I know what to write here. And so I was helping him with that and was the director of his company for a while, and it all kind of tied in at the point where I was thinking, what can I do? I've got to leave here. And so after helping him out, I was like, I know what I want my own business. What can it be? And that started the journey.
I love it. That is awesome. I hope he appreciates all the work you did for Nice. You have been absolutely awesome. Any last words for our peeps?
Oh, I just really encourage everybody to have a go with the muscle testing if you haven't used it before, because you will be so surprised as to what you can uncover, and it will really help you to become more self-aware. I think we can always be more and more self-aware on our journeys and leading our companies.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and I know how valuable it is.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle.
Awesome. This is fun. Peeps, this is Michelle Nedelec. Thank you for being here with us today. Be sure to subscribe to the show, share it with your friends. We love helping entrepreneurs grow.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention. You do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap. They offer full implementation as well, if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.